First part of our gear is what we have on our bodies. So we wear clothes that we don't care about because they might get muddy, they might get torn. We wear shoes that have good traction because it's often muddy and slippery, but we also don't mind getting trashed because the caves tend to be hard on them. We wear knee pads. We'll pull these up over our knees when we get to places that we have to crawl. The other thing we do is we bring in a backpack. We always want to have things for subsistence, so we've got water. We also bring a CO2 meter into the cave because scientifically we're interested in the levels of CO2, but also personally we're interested in the levels of CO2. If CO2 levels are too high, it could actually be quite unhealthy and even fatal. Because what the CO2 does, it's not the CO2 that's really killing you, it's that the more CO2 that there is in the air, there's a lower percentage of oxygen. So the way this CO2 meter works is that there's an infrared sensor in there, and it's able to measure then in the ambient air around this meter the concentrations of CO2. And here it's reading 418 parts per million. So given that we're probably plus or minus between 5 and 10% on these on this meter's measurement, we're within uncertainty of that 400 ppm we hit several months ago in the Earth's atmosphere. Possibly we're a little bit higher here, maybe as a consequence of being so close to an interstate. Okay, the other thing we'll bring to the cave, perhaps the most important thing that we'll have in the cave, is our helmet. Our helmet protects our head. We should never be hitting the ceiling because anytime we hit the ceiling we could be damaging that natural formation that's on the ceiling. Your headlamp is another very important part of the process, so you can see where you're going. That's your lifeline, right? The parts of the cave that we'll be in, off trail, if we can't see, you know, we're kind of up the creek without a paddle. You not only want a good light, fresh batteries in it, but you also want to have at least one backup light in your pack as well. If both of those fail, then you've got spare batteries. Okay, so that's fail-safe number 3. If all that fails, then you could go to good old people power and always have something that you don't have to rely upon batteries to get yourself out of the cave. That's a little bit about caving gear. You should always also be in communication when you're ever going in a cave with someone on the surface, so they know if you're not back by a certain time that they should call the authorities because you may need help.